Hello everyone, welcome to the Northland Artist Conversation. My name is Mark Kelly, I am your host. Behind the screens, running the cameras and computer tonight is Producer Andrew. Producer Andrew, how are we?
I'm good, I'm not too bad. How about you?
Yeah, it's been good. You know what? What a really interesting podcast we had tonight.
Yeah, certainly was fascinating. I've been waiting for a conversation like that to happen here.
Yeah. We'll talk a bit more at the end sort of about what we both got out of it. But Craig Neilson, actually I'm going to say that again, but I'm going to flick to my camera. Craig Neilson, interesting guy. I met, as sort of we talked about earlier in the podcast, I met him officially at Sandbox Fandom Festival. That was such a huge moment, and it was very, very cool. And he was one of those guys where it was like, you need to get him on the podcast. I was like, okay, cool, I'll get him on the podcast. And then we just made it work, and it was so cool. And, you know, the whole reason we started these podcasts is to get to know the artists and who they are, where they came from, what their influences are, you know, who inspires them and where they're going. You know, we didn't really actually touch much on Craig's life itself. We just kind of went into a lot of different topics. You know, we've I would have to say, compared to our normal podcasts, I haven't learned as much of the backstory about him and how he got into the spaces where he is now. So that's why I have said to him, we'll get you back on. And it'll actually be really cool to kind of talk a bit more about that, but then also the other things that he's had going on as well. Because to me, it seems like his mind is always creating. It's always active. And, you know, as someone who is also like that, it's just fascinating to see how his brain works. So let's rip into it, shall we? Let's sit down and have a conversation with Craig Neilson. And that's kind of how... Yeah, it's interesting because like sometimes you actually have to get help or assistance from someone, right? Makes sense.
Sometimes you need to.
Yeah. I mean, do you enjoy sleep?
Oh yeah, but I'm a stranger to it.
Oh right.
Well, like I like find opportunities for it and then just fall asleep until I have to wake up.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So are you kind of one of those? Because you've also got the like your day job as well, eh?
Yeah.
So
and I'm afraid to say that's gonna have to come up because it's sort of my best excuse as to why I haven't done a lot of very artistic things lately is because I've been flat out with that, and actually a lot of it is very creative and
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what can you do though, right?
So like I'm like a full-on journeyman technical creative
yeah,
you know, and that's my job, and also it plunges me into these great opportunities to like do things on the side. You know, I'm just kind of constantly meeting people doing creative community projects and all sorts.
Yeah, and we're very much the same as well. You know, when we started, we didn't realize how huge of a scope of creative people there was.
Yeah.
Not only just in Whangarei, but Northland as a whole. It's massive.
Yeah.
So it's cool to be able to connect with as many people as possible. I mean, we're going to have our 2-year anniversary 1st of June next year, which is
right. Wow.
It's a huge milestone for us.
Yeah.
You know, small little podcast based out of Whangarei, focusing on artistic people. It's quite niche, but it's fun.
I like what you're doing there, Andrew.
He's twiddling knobs.
Sharper.
He is twiddling knobs and pushing buttons.
Yeah.
Actually, he'll probably write down some notes about like little bits and pieces that we say. So he goes, yeah, we'll probably need to... Mark said something inappropriate. How unusual. We'll need to edit that out.
Yeah.
So what can I say?
Because have we started?
Yeah, we started ages ago, man.
Okay, yeah, sweet.
All right. Oh, okay. Well, Craig.
Oh, hi.
How do I say your surname?
Neilson?
Neilson?
Yeah, I don't get that a lot.
Well, no, it's because I met someone a few years ago. It was Neilson.
Yeah, that's not me.
Okay, so Craig Neilson. welcome to the Northland Artist Conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you for being in and joining. It's kind of a random introduction, eh? We just sit down and just talk shit.
Okay.
But that's kind of how this is going to be. It's
Okay.
not going to be anything serious. We met through Sandbox.
Yeah, we met at Sandbox. So
we met at Sandbox.
Actually, I feel like we have this weird parasocial relationship where I've like listened to you heaps. And then
Thank you
I
very
was
much.
like, but when I first started listening to Northland Artist Collective podcast, I was like, okay, well, sure enough, at some point I'm going to meet Mark.
Yeah.
I'm going to run into this guy at some point.
Yeah.
And then it didn't happen. So it's been like many months.
Oh, wow.
Now. And eventually, at Sandbox, someone mentioned that, like, Mark is up there doing this thing.
Yeah.
And I glanced, and then I'm like, wait a second, is that the guy that does the podcast?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
yeah, so I came up, and geez, it was Sandbox. So like, what wasn't happening there?
Man, there was so much happening that day. I was emceeing, trying to run, some amazingly talented kids from Questionable Research Labs initially for the live streaming, and then Andrew joined us because he was working that day. So we were stoked that he was able to like get out of work a bit early, which was great. So he kind of came down, but yeah, it was a bonkers day. I think I remember having a look at my watch, and by around about 1 o'clock, I'd done 12,000 steps.
Yeah.
Long day.
Yeah, totally.
Worth it though.
Yeah,
Worth it.
I thought I'm gonna nip by. I'm gonna do the organisers a favour and get a few photos.
Yeah.
For half an hour, and then I'll go home because I live on the other side of the stream from Keffler Park.
Oh right. Yeah, that's handy.
Yeah, so it's rad.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like Forum North is like such a easy, convenient stomping ground to just like nip over to.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, when I got there, I'm like, oh, okay, this is gonna take a little while. It was just like the scale of it was so impressive. Like totally like hats off to them for generating that thing.
Anna and Verena.
Yeah.
They did an amazing job.
Yeah, did that go to?
That'll just come through the
recording?
headphones. That won't come through in the audio.
Okay,
Better
well,
not.
and for the benefit
slapping
of the
someone.
listeners, then.
There we go.
Adobe just updated 3 apps.
Oh. So I got to share this with you. Last night we had some massive technical issues as well.
What's that?
We've got so I installed a Ubiquiti G5 camera just to kind of monitor everything, and I was like, sweet, that's all good. And I just had my phone down next to me as I normally do, and that just kept making a noise. And we had editor Rocky, who was kind of producing last night as well, and he was like, man, where is that coming from? And I had David Power in the chair, who was also at Sandbox, funnily enough.
Yeah.
And we ended
Who
up,
wasn't?
Yeah, there's so many people.
Yeah, like where did all these people come from?
It was like so I think the total number, including participants, was just under 1,000, which is an amazing event, an amazing accomplishment. But we kind of got to the part where we take a little break and stuff like that, and David and I were hunting around looking for it, and we were just like, man, we can't find it. What the hell is going on? And then I remember reaching down and going, oh yeah, my app sends me notifications when there's movement from that camera.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I had not put on airplane mode like a plonker.
Yeah.
Such is life.
Sandbox is an interesting example. Like I mentioned, turning up to take a few photos.
Yeah.
And that's sort of, it's a good example of how, with this funny combination of my day job.
Yes.
Hang on, I'm going to need to read this out loud. My
official job title?
My badge for council says Web and Social Media Content Advisor.
Okay. That's a cool job title.
Yeah, it is, right? This is the funny thing. This is the job I want most in Whangarei.
Right, yeah. It's probably the
so
job that we want the most as well. Just saying.
Oh, no, I understand why I've been brought into this room.
Congratulations. Guests check in, but they don't check out.
Yeah, man, just lock your bike anywhere.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
Okay,
totally.
Yeah, right, I see.
Yeah.
So I think actually now it's Digital Content Advisor, which is the same thing, but but I've convinced Whangarei District Council to buy a camera because I had been using my own.
Right, yeah.
And it kind of just accidentally created this explosion of like, well, actually now we can take photographs at things. And that's a critical step for like promoting other events we're doing.
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
like for talking about like local things that are worth coming and
Yeah.
doing and seeing.
Yeah,
It's
for
like
sure.
district promotions, and then there's all the advantage of like visual storytelling.
Yep.
And I know that everyone's got a camera in their pockets, which is better than SLRs were in the old days.
Definitely.
But if you actually know what you're doing with a camera,
Yeah.
it's a different story again.
Absolutely.
And so as well, I kind of quickly found this niche where actually anything that council is supporting, I can basically turn up at and take photos, and there's a work rationale for being there.
Yeah.
As well as like, these will be useful to the organizers. Everything council creates is public domain.
Yep.
And they'll be like just useful for a lot of people and good to have. And
Yeah.
if you're going to be there anyway, it's like an extra way that council can support events. Yeah.
That's a cool way to look at it too, eh?
Yeah, it is. And like, I better rein myself in here. I'm not here as council. I'm just here as myself.
Well, yeah, but you're talking about photography, right? And that's kind of where your strength lays. Well, it's one of them.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, I was thinking about this on the bike ride up here. I think like I'm an artistic person that sees the world in a very technical way.
Okay. Yep.
And among the many ways that resolves is in photography.
Yeah. Sure.
Just seeing light, etc.
Yeah.
But I mean, my master's is in creative writing.
Oh wow. Okay.
And the reason I did that is because I see creative writing as the pure maths of creativity.
Okay, right. Yeah.
It's
makes
like
sense.
learning programming by studying mathematics or something.
Yeah.
And it's like all you have in creative writing is the next word.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is the most simple possible artistic medium, and also the most powerful, since our brains are just completely wired for language.
Yes.
So it's
definitely.
like you are basically speaking the programming language of the brain directly into it.
Yeah.
Through like words on a page.
Yeah.
But then the way that explodes is that, well, everything is language.
Yes. I get that.
Like that's just the way we're experiencing the world. And so if you can master creative writing, then you can probably master any kind of storytelling, whether that's like visual or really anything.
Okay. I see where you're going with that.
Right.
Yeah, interesting.
And then in this weird way, like the stuff that I've done most recently, in public especially, has been on artificial intelligence.
Yep.
And, like so many people, like their first response is, yeah, but it can only do these certain things at the moment.
I'm pretty sure there's also the people that are like, Skynet!
Yeah, there's also people that are like Skynet. or okay, this is the end of everything.
Yeah.
Like there's the apocalypse.
They're running around singing It's the End of the World and We Know It by R.E.M.
Yeah. And actually, they might be right. Like we actually don't know the limits here.
Yeah.
It's too early to say.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that.
Yeah, and so I can also see how by learning only language, these things are suddenly and quickly able to master these other things.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's like this. It's the dumbest smart person in the room, where it's read every book in the library and it still can't like show the correct number of fingers on someone's hand. But on the other hand, unintentional pun.
I gotcha.
But it's also still effectively early days, and we're just like seeing these limitations drop like one after the other.
Yeah.
Continuously. It is very spooky. And so that's why I spent the first half of this year freaking out.
Okay.
And then I went to Maggie Buxton from Uffie World.
Maggie is amazing.
I was going to say, like, I bet you.
Man, she's been on the podcast.
Of course she has, actually. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, Maggie
I listened to it.
Super cool. Yeah. Super cool. Such a cool human being, man.
I said, Maggie, I think we're in trouble here. We need to, like, urgently, do something.
Yeah.
We need to expand this, and we need local voices in this conversation about artificial intelligence.
Sure.
Or else it just gets like steamrolled. And so with the help of Jared as well from Iffy World,
Yep.
we put together this event, AI Unraveled, and literally like ran a public talk at 116.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's been videoed as well, and it's available. It's actually part of the Iffy World's ARG symposium.
Yep.
So that's formally online now as well. It's called AI Unraveled.
Oh, I think I've seen that. I think I've seen the link for it anyway.
That's great if we got to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was a really awesome event. We had about 70 people turn up. It feels like it was a moment for Northland in this wider conversation. Definitely a moment for Creative Tech Northland, which I'm a member of.
Yeah.
And just where we kind of like indicated to people that we should probably be serious about this.
Well, you think back years ago, right, and people freaked out over the automobile.
Yeah.
In fact, some people
Rightly.
some people still freak out over the automobile.
For people who are only listening, I'm now clutching my bicycle helmet.
Clutching a helmet.
Don't worry, I freak out about automobiles every day.
But you've still got people that still live on the old horse and carts, right?
Okay.
The Amish people in America.
Okay. Yeah.
They don't want to sort of partake in the modern technologies.
Sure, but I don't want painters to look like Amish people.
No. But what it is like society continually evolves, right? And initially there will be pushback. There always is when anything big happens, but eventually there becomes adoption.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but some version of that or some speed of that occurring becomes bewildering for even the most like early adopters.
Yes. I mean,
I think that's what we're potentially on like the edge of.
Yeah.
And that's I think why it got into this separate realm of like actually we need to talk.
Oh,
like
definitely.
This is effectively an alien intelligence that is able to create what we're calling artwork until very recently.
Yeah. Yep. And I mean, you've got wider, even wider conversations around the creative industry where, are script writers needed? I think that's part of what they're striking for at the moment. Then you've got artists that are going,
luckily those strikes are over. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. That was a big part of it. I mean, and models and actors being fully scanned.
Oh yeah.
So that their scans just become these AI-driven, wireframes, and then you're away, and so that's why they were striking.
I'm gonna throw. I'm not gonna play devil's advocate. I usually do, but it's an interesting take. You look at films like The Irishman, for example, where there was a lot of de-aging. You look at things like Mandalorian, where they de-aged Luke Skywalker, or Rogue One, where Princess Leia has passed away and they just digitally alter her. Now that's all fine and dandy, but I have a question for you. Have you ever watched a film called...
Do they have souls?
No,
Sorry.
they don't.
Yeah.
Can they convey accurate emotion? No, they're dead.
Can they?
But have you ever seen a film called The Crow?
Oh, I know the one you mean, but actually I don't think I've seen it.
Okay, Brandon Lee, son of Bruce Lee, died on set about 2/3 of the way through filming.
Yeah.
And they still had a final third left to go.
Yeah.
They were adamant that they were going to get the movie filmed, so what they did is they got a physical body double and digitally replaced his face.
Yep.
Now this is back in 1996?
No way.
97?
Wow.
So this is decades before where we are now.
Yeah. And actually in those days it would have taken huge amounts of like creativity for how you showed just the back of him or
Yeah. So the fact that this has been going on for a lot longer, but we're only having the conversation now.
Yeah, but I think
around it.
what's changed is that you and Andrew can do it now. And in 1997, that would have taken like the massive crack team in LucasArts, or like it would have taken all of Weta Digital. And you know, now it's like what changes?
If I can get Blender and put a decent graphics card in, I can render the shit out of anything and make it look amazing.
Totally. Yeah. One of the things I demoed at AI Unraveled is, I mean, and this is like so exciting because this is like tools for artists.
Yeah.
Like where you just become empowered by what would have previously taken a studio. And it was the motion capture systems that that it can do. So using one phone, like pointing at someone's face, like into Unreal Engine, you can do like this near real-time performance capture. So for people that don't know what we're talking about, it's where you where you take an actor's performance and it becomes a digital object in a way that can be like further manipulated. So for example, you can just lay a whole new character over the top of them, turn them into a witch or an owl or an alien, and it will still carry the facial expressions and the like body movements and the rest of it that their original performance did.
Hulk from Avengers films.
Yeah, well, the famous one in New Zealand, of course, is Gollum.
Oh yeah, Andy Serkis.
Yeah, and that was like
they pioneered it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that was the pioneering thing, and of course that was like worthy of making documentaries and all sorts.
Definitely.
And
there was so many behind the scenes videos that came out in the special editions, and I remember
many people cut their teeth on that.
I bought the special or the deluxe edition so I could get every single special feature, so I could sit there and watch them go, how did they do? Oh, right, okay, I'm never going to have that much computer processing power, and now we do. Right now we do,
and now it's automated. Like, and that's I think what the difference is that it's not just that things have moved on a bit. It's like actually the speed is increasing, and I'm a massive nerd.
Okay,
I'm fine.
Yep.
It's more everyone else that I'm worried about.
Yeah.
And like simultaneously, I'm super invested in my existing skills.
Yeah.
You know, and like equipment and works.
Yes.
And publishers have just been drowning in AI generated manuscripts that they cannot tell apart from human written manuscripts without spending hours and hours and hours of like reading. Yeah. And then even only then can you sort of have a guess.
It's like, man, I remember, I mean, this is going to be, I feel like this is going to be a bit more of a theological discussion as opposed to understanding you as the artist. But I mean, hey, we're going to take it wherever we want to take it. I remember reading articles earlier in the year about early versions of AI that you could enter information to, and one person had managed to convince AI that they should kill themselves, and AI agreed and said, yes, you are not worthy of being here, you are just part of the problem, not the solution. Go kill yourself.
Tends to be quite agreeable with whatever you suggest.
Now that's the interesting thing, right? Because it's data in equals information out, right? So if you put shit in, shit's going to come out. Yeah, that's basically how it works, right? Yeah,
I mean, pretty close to it. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you put like quality information,
how it works is a long answer question.
It is.
But
it is, and you know,
actually, I'll take this into the really nerdy zone. So GPT, ChatGPT.
We all know it.
Well, it stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer.
Robots in disguise.
The transformer part means that it'll take your input and transform it into something that it will then generate based on its pre-training. That's the simplest way I can explain GPT.
Yeah.
But so just the really simple version of that is like, think of it as a okay, so if I ask what time should I go home?
Yes.
Then it's easy enough for a computer to identify what the different parts of the sentence were and say, and just reorder them and say, the time you should go home is, and then from there it's predictive text.
Yeah.
So, but it's predictive text not like on your phone. It's predictive text linked up to the most massive supercomputers the world has ever known.
Yeah. With like petabytes of information.
And also the kind of thinking that they're doing is running on GPUs, which are graphics cards, which are rendering better at doing this because they can sort of think in 3D.
Right,
which is
so
also to say that they can think in 4D, or like other dimensions that humans can't.
Like the NVIDIA Tesla cards.
Yep.
Those sorts of things.
Or the tensor cores.
Yeah, so for people, I guess, watching or listening, you have your standard graphics cards, which are attached into a laptop or a desktop. They might be built in, so they're kind of bog standard. The next one is you have a dedicated graphics card, which will either often be Intel, Radeon, or NVIDIA. From there, those companies have got kind of more business grade cards, which can do like workstation stuff, rendering, basic AI, and that sort of stuff. And then you've got the, I guess, data center cards, which are your Tensor and your Tesla cards, right?
That's where it gets really freaky, yeah.
Yeah, now I only know that because of my job.
Right, of course, yeah, and so that those things kind of came through gaming and have just absolutely exploded the capacity for doing, this predictive, GPT style AI. And that's sort of on a technical level where it's coming from.
Northland Artists Conversation is proud to support 116. 116 are located on Bank Street in Whangarei, and an amazing venue that you can actually hire. If you're looking to hold an event or looking to hire a venue for a special occasion, 116 on Bank Street are an absolutely fantastic place. You can simply contact them via email off their website or through Facebook as well. 116 have had such amazing events in the past as the Whangarei Fringe Festival, and they've also held the Plunge Pop Culture Convention there as well. They also have local artists that also put performances on, as well as incoming artists that come into the region as well and want to be able to do things like have plays or perform music or any of those sorts of cool things. 116 are also home to the amazing Beagle radio station as well, which is a local initiative that is all set up with some very, very talented people that actually love what they do, and they do it all for free. So it's very, very cool. So 116 on Bank Street, proudly supported by the Northland Artists Conversation. So I guess, we've obviously talked a lot about AI and where things have been, some of the people's concerns as well, and kind of where that all lies, and understanding ChatGPT. Where do you think people should become not complacent, but more comfortable with AI?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is a great question.
Thank you. From time to time.
Yeah. So the first thing I think is that we have to accept that it's here.
Yes.
Like, technology has a habit of not going backwards.
Yep.
And yeah, so everyone's going to get to choose their relationship to it.
Mm-hmm.
I would advise personally that fighting it would be a real missed opportunity.
Yep, sure.
And one that's you're not going to win it.
Yeah. Reminds me of Thanos' great line, "I am inevitable."
Yeah, basically, yeah.
But without the killing, right?
So I think, like, as well, because artworks, especially major artworks, take some time.
Yeah, they do.
And we're sort of in such a time of rapid change.
Yes.
That it feels like if you start a 6-month-long project, you want to get to the end of that project and not have it instantly irrelevant because,
definitely.
AI could have done that.
Yep.
Even if it can't do it now. So it's, I think, good for artists and creative people to, like, really just be aware of what the capabilities are.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, we as Northland Artist Conversation are looking into AI itself.
Yeah, I bet.
We use the Adobe suite of products.
Yeah, and they've like really
So
gone all in. Yeah.
we there's the Adobe Premiere Pro beta version, which has just come out, but that's got built-in AI. So what myself and producer Andrew are going to do is we're actually going to take a unedited podcast. We're going to feed the information into it, direct the AI where to find the style that we have. So direct it to our YouTube channel and say, edit according to the style of blah, 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 blah. And then we're going to review and see what it comes out with. Reason for doing that is when the very first podcast we did, take a guess as to how long it took to edit an hour and a half long podcast.
5 hours.
Double.
Oh, yeah.
10 hours.
Yeah.
Right. With all of the streamlining that producer Andrew and editor Rocky have done, we can now get it a minute-for-minute podcast.
Yeah.
So if the podcast is an hour and 10 minutes, a full edit can pretty much be done in an hour and 10 minutes. Now, that's great, and that's a huge accomplishment for what they have done. However, that is an hour that if I could have a computer do it and train it to edit in a way that works for us, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't we then take the opportunity to go, cool, well, that's an hour that we can devote to something else, whether that be family time, kids, our partner, exercise, doing other creative things.
But here's what I challenge to that.
Okay.
Is that what if Rocky always wanted to be a video editor?
Yeah, well, he does.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is like,
hi, Rocky.
Hey, Rocky. But I think the cool thing is like we've been doing this now for nearly 18 months. That we have a very particular style that's been developed and sort of honed in on that 18 months. Now, what that means is that Rocky, for example, we could say, cool, we're going to go out and shoot a music video this weekend. Great, we're going to need you to edit that. We can't tell AI how to edit it because we don't have like a benchmark, and songs have got things in there that AI aren't going to pick. It may not pick up on sound cues or word phrases or ebbs and flows in a song. It has to be edited by hand.
Got it. And I think you bring up something really interesting here, which is that you can be good at AI, as opposed to bad at it. Like you said before, like crap in, crap out.
Yeah.
You can actually. You can develop that skill, and a big part of that is understanding what it's not going to be good at.
Yeah,
and then utilizing the human part when it's necessary.
Yeah, and for me that's pretty much the essence of things. Like so from what I've seen so far, in some of the like AI generated videos, right? You input requirements of a video and then AI spits it out. But AI has to source that information from somewhere else. It can't actually generate something new, completely original and of its own, because it has to pull the information from something that it's learned.
Yeah, I mean, I challenge that because it can sort of be inspired by it.
Yes.
And like in a way, how different are we?
Yeah,
I'm the first to admit that even for my like coolest, most innovative projects, the idea came from something.
Can the idea not just come from your mind?
Like out of absolutely nowhere?
Yeah.
I haven't done that. Like, but I think it's also because I'm seeing things in a technical way. I tend to realize what has inspired me.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Or what has what sort of style I'm maybe trying to do, but do it this other way.
So let's say your photography, for example. Can
I use a different one?
Oh, sure.
Let's use kinetic artwork.
Okay.
Yeah.
For the idiots listening, and actually the idiot that's talking, what is kinetic artwork? Don't you love producer Andrew?
I would. He doesn't know.
He does. He's sitting there saying he doesn't know either. All right, cool. So for the two non-smart people in the room, what is kinetic artwork?
Okay. I would define it as artwork that is as much about the motion as it is about the actual appearance, or like it's as much about the change as it is about the staying the same.
You've lost me.
Okay, I think
I'll be honest. Yes, I'm thinking.
Yeah,
I've been thinking about iRobot pretty much since we started talking. But yeah.
Or like think dancing sculptures.
Okay.
Yeah. So a couple, or a fountain is a classic example of kinetic artwork.
Right. Yes. Okay. Like the one down at the town basin.
Sure. Yep.
The water spurty
Yep,
thingy.
yep.
Okay. Cool.
Yep.
I'm there.
Although I would say that that might almost fall into.
Just let me clutch at these straws, man. I need something tangible.
Yeah. Sweet.
Okay. Cool. So we're going to call that a type of kinetic art.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah,
Okay,
but
cool.
especially if you then took, so you've created this that fountain, I might say, is a canvas.
Right.
So there's a bunch of variables,
Yes.
including like the color of the lights and
Yep.
the way that the water sprays.
Yep.
And you could say that's a canvas for you to then create art on top of.
Ooh.
So as a kinetic artist, you are making these like bizarre contraptions
Yeah.
that you can then express yourself through.
The BIOS incubator that Arfi World did down at the Whangarei Art Museum, either June, July this year.
Yeah, that's a great example.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I think where I was trying to go is saying your photography.
Okay.
Is, yeah.
All right, I'll let you do it.
I'm going to go back there.
Yeah.
Because like we all have people and artists that inspire us in one way or another right now. You're for a long time and still currently with your job, photography is kind of what you do, right? Well, you do photography. You
I
take
do,
a camera to events, and
that's something I do. Sure.
something you do.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't want to like get a reputation as a photographer, especially only a photographer.
No, well, you're so much more than a photographer.
Yeah.
But
also because I know the people that are photographers are better than me at photography, and I grovel at their feet.
There'll always be a better photographer than someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can always get better at your job, man.
You can. You
Yeah.
can. You can always continue to learn.
Especially if you're an artist.
Yeah, definitely. But like when you take a photo and you're composing at it and looking at it for the light, the shadow, where the information's coming, depth of field, focus, and all those sorts of things, you're essentially going back into a database of things that you've seen or heard or read about other people and how their style is. So you're taking bits and pieces from that and then filtering that through your lens, and then when you get into the computer, it kind of changes things all over again.
Yeah.
Am I close?
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah. I mean, if this is an analogy for AI,
Yeah.
then you're really close, because that is what you're doing when you're...
Nailed it.
You know what? You're not just close. There's a bullseye.
No.
Yeah, because it is... A photographer is composing a shot.
Yes.
However, this particular shot has never been taken before.
Right.
But in order to create it, they need to, usually quite quickly, remember tons and tons of like rules.
Yeah, there's a
The
massive
rule
amount of
thirds,
calculations.
and then you're like, okay, but what rules can I break and how?
Mm-hmm.
What am I going to allow to be too dark? You're thinking about mise en scène, the objects in a scene.
Yep.
You're thinking about the intentionally overexposing some things.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
You know, and ultimately, like, and you know, if you're great at this, you do this all without even thinking about it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's unconscious.
And yeah, like an AI
Yes.
may do exactly the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you ask for a effectively new image,
Yep.
Something that's never been seen before by anyone. You can use your limitless creativity to describe what that's going to be.
Yeah. Yep.
And you may imply or directly ask for a style.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, it's going to go back in its database and do exactly what a photographer might do when they're
You're
composing
right.
an image.
Yeah. Okay.
Where it's like, okay, it's inspired by this and this and
Yep.
this and this and this, and it's learnt its things not from particular images, but from just like large language models of content. So that's an LLM, is a large language model might literally be billions of, say, words or millions of images that then teach it what an image should look like.
Okay.
And then, generate it.
So, I get, where does AI pull all of this information from?
So its training data in the first place doesn't get stored in its original form at all. It gets stored as this weird amorphous cloud that even human researchers can't understand.
Yeah.
So if you looked inside it, even the best researchers would be like, I don't know, it's taken it and like kind of learned things from it in its own way. That it's called the black box effect, and it's one of the many dangers is that it might behave in a certain way, and there's actually no way of telling why it has done that.
Yeah.
Totally different to any other computer system that's ever like occurred before.
I think in my head, when I think of AI, and you know, I'm in the IT industry, so I'm going to think a little bit bigger, but you know, it's almost like I imagine these great big data farms, these great big data centers with just rows and rows and racks and racks and racks of these hard drives.
Yeah.
And information just getting fed in there, and there's someone sitting there just typing away like a frantic madman going, I need to get the Stephen King book in. Okay, cool, that's in. Time to move on to Dean Koontz.
Yeah.
But it's not... There would have to be parts of that were like that, but then I have to also think that the majority of it wouldn't, because the internet is such a vast tool.
Yeah, well, actually, a lot of that human stuff, came from you signing into things, and it says, "Is this a bus? Click on all the buses."
No.
Yeah, we trained AI.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Oh, I have...
Is this a cat?
Hang on.
Yes.
Yeah, go.
Do you know how that actually works, though?
Yeah, so, I mean, there's like...
So they're called captures, right?
Yeah.
And it says, click everything with a traffic sign.
Yeah.
Or like a stop sign or
so
whatever.
You're teaching it what traffic lights look like.
Yeah, okay.
And those trafficy ones especially for, like, self-driving cars.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's like, okay, what is a letterbox even?
Yeah.
Here's like a collection of different... things that might be letterboxes, but I want to know for sure.
Right.
And so by the time it gets to you, there's a certain level of confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're all like, And if there are none, click skip. And that's data as well.
Yeah, because it's still the...
Yeah.
It's like we've presented you with an image, we've presented you with a guide. There is no guide there. We think there might be, but if you can tell me that there isn't, we can then go skip and then produce another image which will have the stuff in there, right?
Exactly. But also, it's not authoritative data. Like, so if I'm trying to hack in, or I am a robot, I just click some random ones. And so it actually, it takes people's, it sort of takes a cloud of people's inputs to figure out how much it can trust them at all.
Yeah.
And if you go against the grain, then it'll be like, no, actually, I don't think that's a real human.
Yeah, because I imagine a lot of it is mathematical and statistical, right? Where it looks at information and go, well, 5% of the population are idiots, 3% of the population are lying assholes. Let's go with the 92% of the population that 2 thumbs up.
That are just trying to log into the site.
Yeah.
And they just want to download that file.
They do.
Yeah.
Acquire that search illegally. Anyway, producer Andrew, you had a question. You had your mic going.
No, it's just fascinating how captures actually work.
Yeah, it is.
So they don't actually care about the images you click. It's about how your mouse clicks them.
Right.
So how they prevent AI is AI will normally do straight lines. It'll beeline to things.
Yep.
Whereas humans will be like, there.
Oh, we're very random in our mouse movements.
It's just a fascinating thing I heard
a
few weeks back. Yeah.
Man, thank you for contributing.
Yeah, true, actually. And this is one of those like weird things that I feel is really invasive. I don't like getting my mouse tracked.
Okay.
You know, I know there's no information you're really getting from that. I know they can't see the screen, only where I'm having the pointer.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I've always just felt real iffy about it. And like, nearly every website tracks your mouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah. Wow. I think this is a wider conversation that we're going to need to continue, because I don't really want to get into the echelon, NSA's full take, and all of that sort of stuff, because Lord knows we could dive down that rabbit hole quite quickly.
Totally.
And actually, producer Andrew could probably sit in this chair and host it more convincingly than I could.
Need some tinfoil hats, man.
There we go. But I mean, I guess from my perspective, and I want to kind of rein it all back in and just sort of refocus it on you for a moment, if that's okay. Where does AI sit in your creative life?
Yeah. Another amazingly great question.
Food! Tuna session! I'm not dumb!
Yes.
That's excellent, thank you.
And I also think this is a question for everyone that's been on the show now, and many of the listeners. We're all going to have to face the music on this.
Right, yeah.
And maybe it does mean killing some of your darlings. There's a writing term to say giving up on things that are not just not going to work anymore.
Yep.
Maybe it means expanding beyond what you have previously done. I think it definitely involves some being good at using AI for nearly everyone, or else you're going to be missing opportunities that you do manually that actually didn't need to be. For me personally...
Yes, I was going to say, but you.
Yeah.
The question was you.
We brought you here. For me personally, I find that it's a interesting sort of... it's a tool.
Sure.
You know, and like we've talked about the Adobe Creative Suite.
Yes.
That's just a natural home for actually where a lot of creativity is going to happen.
Yep.
For people that can afford it. Sorry.
It's $90 a month.
It's
on
so
subscription
expensive.
Service. It is not cheap.
Yeah.
If you're a student, though, it's affordable.
If you're a student, there are student prices on that.
Yeah.
There's
so
also,
find someone with a student ID.
It's also worth saying
Yes,
that,
sorry.
If your employer can buy it, its licenses tend to give you more than one installation.
Yep.
So they are expecting you to also use it at home.
Yeah.
And it would only you would have to have the worst boss to tell you no, you can't practice at home on other projects in your own time and get good at the tools you need for your job.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think have that conversation.
Again, that raises some very man. From an HR perspective, that raises some interesting questions.
Sorry, all the
as
HR
well.
people, I just made your life harder.
Yeah,
Look, if your employees come to you and say, I want to use work software outside of work to get good at it, like, hold on to them.
Yeah, definitely.
They are your best employees.
They're going to be an asset.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and say yes.
Yeah.
Like, that's my advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I think I'm going to throw it back a few years. I think with COVID... having to suddenly become capable of working from home, a huge amount of employers suddenly went, we can't have this happen again. We need to give people the flexibility to be able to have a laptop and work from home, or work from their own PC and remote into, secure a site, or remote into their server that they've got in the office, or anything like that. So, there's definitely those sorts of things out there now that we probably hadn't thought of 3.5 years ago. Yeah.
The other thing I want to say is, like, as a so in the creative process,
yes,
I said tool, and I mean that in the bluntest way. Like, I'm going to use this screwdriver to achieve what I want.
Right. Okay.
So you have your vision in mind, and you're going to do that. But if you're not already at a formed vision, then it's dodgy to say this word collaborator, because it's not an equal partner.
No.
And I think it shouldn't be. You're going to get really soulless art if it's an equal part. But the value of a draft, man, even if it's a really horrible one, is so high.
Yeah.
And if you can describe what it is you're looking for and then get that sort of drafted, you are like 80% of the way there. And for my creative process, I found that to be this weird teleporting effect where I suddenly don't know where I was a moment ago. I'm like, wait, how am I here now? Because this should have taken me ages.
Yeah.
And here I am, like line editing this draft, only to realize that the whole the whole angle of this thing I'm writing is wrong.
Yeah.
And I need to change it dramatically. But I didn't just invest 3 hours in writing this.
No.
500 word story. I invested a few seconds.
Yeah, like 3 to 5 minutes, and
Yeah,
putting
exactly.
some data and then getting a result.
Pretty much. And so you're like, well, let's start that again from scratch.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so if you're a writer and you're sort
regenerate.
of writing, yeah. I mean, if you're a writer and you're utilizing AI paragraph by paragraph,
Yeah.
I think that's vastly different to just saying write a compelling story and hitting enter.
Yeah.
And
Makes sense.
so much more of your ideas are gonna like come through in there. And also, like, man, I've had some late nights writing where my fingers can't keep up.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
that's literally the hard part. And so, like in the same way that like typewriters, or sorry, word processors completely changed the writing craft.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
Because you no longer actually had to think of it in a purely linear kind of way and then cut up and tape together your paragraphs or whatever. Yep. You could really just jump from point to point in a story. And you're writing something and you go, I could have foreshadowed this at this opportunity I had earlier, and you go there and foreshadow it. And writing on paper, extremely difficult. So everyone just got massively superpowered.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we leveled up.
Yeah, hard out.
And isn't that what AI allows us to do as well?
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
it's a level up.
If you can grab that opportunity and start to use it in genuinely creative ways that express you, then you're crushing it.
Yeah, it's funny. When you were, talking about that last part just then, and you were talking about the screwdriver. I don't know why I thought of it, but I instantly thought of the statue of David. And now I'll explain, right?
Yeah.
So when that started, that was a solid piece of granite or marble or whatever it was, right? AI does 20% of the shit work that is time-consuming and sucks and people hate doing. But then that last 20%, all that little fine-tuning and detail that has to be done by hand and so painstakingly perfect, we can do that. To me, that's kind of AI the tool.
Sure, yeah.
You say sure like it's like I'm talking out my ass. A little bit.
I think that
I'm just trying to simplify it down basically into its... Yeah, because I do struggle a bit with AI.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, like, so using that example, AI takes the granite.
Yeah.
It, like the artist, can see a statue inside it.
Yes.
And then it goes through and zaps everything off.
Yep.
And you go, oh, actually, I wanted to put an arm there, or I'm going to move his arm, but you've already removed the granite.
Right. Okay.
And this is, I think, more an example of the limitations.
Right.
Because it tends to, at the moment, outside of professional creative tools like Adobe Creative Suite, it tends to return to you what you might think of as finished artworks or rendered pieces, like JPEGs, like not a layered file, but like a complete thing. So yes, in that sense, you have to be better than it, and you can be.
So with I guess I try not to leave dead here. I think for me is knowing that you yourself are embracing AI as a change for good, better, a change of difference.
Yeah, just different. It's different.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, we have to accept that.
I'm very, very curious to know what are your next projects that you've got coming up, because as you know, you do photography, but you're not photography. You've done AI, but you're not AI. Thank God. So.
Or am I?
Yeah. It's a T800. What do you have sort of coming up that kind of aligns your different bits and pieces?
I had this moment the other day, and I hate to say, but it's been a while since this happened. I was struck by inspiration.
Okay.
And I was inspired by the absolute worst public artwork in Northland.
Well, I mean, I swear, we don't need to name that.
Yeah.
Art is subjective, right?
I'm gonna name it, but only because
Okay,
everyone's going to agree.
Right.
And I think it's not actually artwork. I think it's a decoration.
Okay.
And worse, I think it's a Christmas decoration.
Okay.
And it's a Christmas decoration from the 80s that is never moved or like never taken down.
Right.
And it's in one of the most desirable locations in the entire city.
Okay, well, I grew up loving the 80s.
Yeah. Well, this is not the high point, man.
This isn't.
Yeah, no.
This isn't like
This
glam
is not the part of the
metal
80s you like.
with pastels and Miami Vice with the big shoulder pads. Not those. Oh,
I'm
gonna
gonna turn my phone towards you.
Yes.
And see if you recognize this.
All right, let's have a look.
And then I'm gonna describe it as well for people who are listening. So
What the?
so
Hang on.
do you know it, Andrew?
I'm gonna grab your phone if I could.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hold this up to my shot. I've got
It's
to
down
sit
by
back
the
for it.
dairy on Riverside there, eh?
That's the one. So right next to the Canopy Bridge, across the stream,
There you go.
sorry, across
you.
the river from Putahi Park,
Yes.
is like the end, you might say, of
Yeah.
the Hatia Loop.
Yes. Yeah, I know exactly where you
Just
are.
like the most glorious little intersection.
Yeah.
And it's this thing has. I'm looking at the picture now. It's got like flax and like fern trees around it, and like pahudakawa.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know where to start to describe it. So it's on a pole like a lamp post.
Like a beacon. Yep.
Yeah, like it's a beacon, and so we're talking elevated artwork here.
Yes.
It's got, I'm gonna count them now, 5 colored bulbs hanging off it.
Oh, okay. Right.
So presumably
yep.
it has power to sight.
And the bulbs could be reflective of something.
Yeah. Well, I think it previously had a lot more than 5.
I'm trying to find some
And
positives
I'm guessing
here.
they were glued on.
Okay. Right. Yep.
And then it has, I'm guessing, steel.
Yep.
That's sort of assembled in a sphere shape.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But it's not a sphere because it doesn't have like a shell around it.
Right.
It's more like you could say an atom, like
Yeah.
It's,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
So it's
I'd
like a bunch
say
of
the atom.
circles.
Yeah.
And that rests there, looking back at the Hundertwasser Art Centre.
Yes.
And the glorious cafes of the town basin.
Mm-hmm.
Lifeless. And
Okay.
I saw that, and I was like, "Can I swear?"
Sure.
I was like, "Holy fuck, that is a massive opportunity."
it's a quality F as well, the hard F. Good for you, man. That's awesome. Okay.
Like this is an elevated spot that's like in this extremely desirable location.
Definitely.
And so the time and place that I noticed this was at the Maritime Festival.
Oh, that was on the weekend, a couple of
Couple of weekends ago.
Yeah, I remember that.
So I, like everybody else at the Maritime Festival, was high on life.
Yes.
I'd just been dancing around with mermaid bait. I was like a ring-in for when they need a strongman, they bring in me to pull around the boat for them.
Right.
And I also play percussion.
Okay. I was like, where are we heading with this?
And also I like all of the mermaid bait songs, so I
Okay.
sing them all, and I'm
Yeah.
de facto backup vocals.
Nice. That's cool.
And I look good in stripes.
Yeah.
So I had just been doing that.
Yeah.
And taking some photos, and I did a live stream for work.
Yeah.
And all of that. And I'm just like surrounded by all of this like glorious creative juice.
Yep.
And then as my head turns, it locks in on that thing.
On the sculpture.
Whatever sculpture?
It is.
On the decoration.
Sculpture. It's a piece of art.
Okay. And I thought, what are you doing here? And my first thought was, I could probably just relight this.
Mm-hmm.
And so, by the way, if you're listening and you are the original creator of this item,
Yes.
please get in touch with me urgently.
Okay.
Because first of all, I would like to buy you a beer and deliver an apology
Okay.
for absolutely shitting on what I'm sure was
Hard work with lots of consultation.
and also because I want you on the team to reimagine this. I
Okay.
want your direct support. I'm putting together a little bit of a crack team at the moment, and I think we're just going to go out for dinner and chat about it.
Right.
I've had a quick word to council, and they're open to the idea of at least not developing it, like not removing it,
Okay.
which
right.
means that it would stay there.
Yep.
And the person I spoke to there also said, if not there may be other opportunities
Yeah.
for where you can
Yeah.
create a new artwork.
100%.
And it's been a while since I did kinetic art, and that hurts a little bit. It's sort of like the culmination of so many different creative approaches.
Yep.
And if I may say so myself, I've done some kinetic artwork that pleases people.
Okay. It's good. Good.
Yeah. And so the idea of doing a permanent one is actually a step up from the installation work that I've done in the past.
Yeah.
And now that we are in this crazy new world, there are lots of ways I would use AI
Okay.
to get there,
Yep.
to do it. So, like for example, I've never been that big on programming.
Okay.
It's
right.
like a
Yep.
weird edge for me.
Yep.
Where like I've said before, like I said earlier, that I am an artistic person that sees the world in a technical way.
Yep.
But it doesn't mean that I always totally speak in technical languages, and
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
programming.
Yep.
It's like the level of syntax required always just trips me up. So
Yeah.
I can imagine what a computer should do, but I really struggle to get it to actually compile.
Right. Okay.
And AI actually happens to be really good at programming,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
at least to the level that I would be requiring.
Yep.
I would want to also work with maybe an Arduino expert or someone that can
yes.
directly work
Yeah,
with
sure.
Raspberry Pi.
I was about to say Raspberry Pi. Yeah.
But like that I don't have to do the heavy lifting of
yeah.
like actually understanding every line of code would
Yeah.
just be massive.
yeah.
Yeah.
That would be a very steep learning curve.
Well, yeah. I mean, I have one piece of published code on GitHub. It was for an installation I did at Motat, where to trigger the artwork, people had to join hands and touch 2 cans of pineapple on opposite sides of the room.
That's brilliant.
And so actually, I'll try and describe this experience a bit. You go into the room
Yes.
and there's like a weird kind of atmospheric thing. There's like birds tweeting. There's some like kind of warm, like colored lighting. And there's 2 cans of pineapple.
One on each side of the room, right?
Yeah, one on each side of the room.
Okay.
And there's also this slowly rotating Fibonacci
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yep.
design on the wall. So
The Fibonacci spiral, yeah?
yeah, but a very a Fibonacci spiral tuned up to 11.
Okay.
So it's like loads of overlapping semi-organic types of it looks like a fruit. It looks like a pineapple.
Right, okay. Yep.
Yeah. It was inspired by a pineapple.
By a pineapple.
And when you trigger the artwork,
Yeah.
then bam, the lights turn out. Loud noises come out of nowhere. The Fibonacci thing
Yeah.
is rotating and
Yeah.
speeding up, and being measured back to the Arduino, and when it hits the right speed, the strobe lights begin, which are programmed to capture and animate the Fibonacci spiral at exactly the right position, at exactly the right time, with thinking ultra high resolution time, so that the Fibonacci, so that the pineapple blooms.
Wow.
And you actually watch it grow from the center and out to the edges.
Wow.
So yeah, that's my only published code on GitHub. Was the two Arduinos that were controlling the motor and the lights and triggering the sound and stuff for that.
Wow. That would have been crazy.
Yeah, but can you believe I've lived here for 4 years and I haven't done any kinetic artwork?
Yes, I can.
So yeah, stink.
I
totally. Look, everyone blames the council for something, for everything probably. I blame the council for this. I've been too busy to do a kinetic artwork, and every year I go to night lights, and I love it, and I get like photos, and I get relegated to photographer, and it's like, I wanted, but I mean, I love that, and I really want to bring something to night lights, but that's the sort of installation work that I've mostly done. The idea of doing a permanent artwork is very exciting, and when I saw
the sculpture, the ball,
well, I'll meet you halfway. I'm going to call it the ball.
Well, the ball is good. We'll go with the ball.
When I saw the ball, I was like, that is just pleading. You know, that is giving me really sexy eyes for like, come and be creative on this.
Yeah.
Nice. And so, if you are listening to this in the year 2023, and you want to get involved, reach out. Yeah.
How can people get in touch with you then? How do they reach out?
Google me.
Google me.
Yeah. Actually, CraigNeilson.com should have my up-to-date contacts.
There we go.
Until I get too much abuse.
Right.
And then I'll take it off.
Well, you might get a few people that'll be a little bit unhappy about you calling the ball and ice.
Exactly.
An eyesore of the Town Basin.
No one will be unhappy about that. I know exactly what he's talking about.
I reckon it's probably the Lions Foundation or something. Like there's some like volunteers that are sitting there listening to NAC because they tune in every time.
Yep,
you know,
they do. Loyal as.
Yeah, and they're like, they count themselves among the artists of the city because they created that.
Yep.
And they're like, can I swear again?
You go just.
They're like, fuck this guy.
Fuck him.
Yeah, but like whoever you were, like I've already offered. We'll go out for a drink. I'm not as bad as I have seemed today.
You're not bad at all, man.
I'll try not. I'll try not to abuse your art, if that's what you want to call it.
In your face, behind your back, it's a different story. But I think
we'll have a good chat about it, and we'll go from here.
Yeah,
because
and I think that's one of the great things, and you've very clearly demonstrated it. Is art is so incredibly subjective, right?
Yeah.
Right. And art can evoke such these in-depth responses from us, this passion, whether it be good or bad. But very rarely, with art will you get indifference or apathy.
Yeah.
You'll get something along the lines of, oh my God, that's amazing. Or you get something along the lines of, oh, it was interesting. I don't really understand it. Or you might get this is the biggest pile of shit I've ever seen. What are we doing here? And it just shows the huge range that we can have as people. And when we talk, we're passionate about art, whether it be good or bad. But it's never going to be indifferent.
Yeah. My favorite one personally is, well, we're talking about it.
Well, exactly.
It's like it's such a like instant win.
It is.
Yeah, it's a real cocky thing.
As all D-list celebrities will say, there's no such thing as bad publicity.
I beg to differ, but yeah.
Yeah, I think the majority
for certain people.
Yeah.
If that's what you want is publicity.
Sure. Start up an OnlyFans. Anyway, thank you so much for coming in and joining us. I'll be honest, I love sitting here because I never know where we're going to go with a podcast. And for me, this has been a huge eye-opener. And once we're done, I'm going to have a lot of questions for you.
Yeah.
But I would love to be able to invite you back, 3, 6, 9 months down the track and just find out where you're at and kind of what's going on. Because, people that are doing stuff on the bleeding edge are often the people that can kind of, seem a particular way. And it's like, well, no, that sometimes you have to have these people to drive visions forward. And I reference Steve Jobs.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, I'll add that to that as well. I'm real busy. And so if you're, which is not, I'm not saying no, but actually what I want listeners to know or think is if you also are left with questions, don't be afraid to reach out, or
which
actually
your email address or your web address.
Yeah,
is.
Find me on craigneilson.com.
Yeah.
Or which is very out of date. But the other thing I want to plug is Creative Tech Northland.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because that's actually a lot of people can do the kind of support that I would otherwise do. Yeah. Through that, and I'm so impressed with the people that turn up at that.
Yeah, it's definitely some interesting minds.
Yeah, exactly. And the things that people are doing, there are good opportunities, and turn up if you're not very technical. Yeah. Or turn up if you're not very creative.
Yeah, I mean.
Or turn up if you are creative and technical. Fantastic.
Yeah, just Facebook. Creative Technology Northland.
Yeah, again, just Google that.
Yeah.
You'll find us.
Yeah, find it. Make it part of your life. Truly fascinating to have you in, Craig. As I said, I really appreciate it. Huge learnings for me. So, it'll be good to get you back in, as I said, and find out kind of where you're at. But for today, thanks for coming in, man. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Malik. Yeah, awesome.
Well, there you go, everyone. That was our guest for this podcast, Craig Neilson. Producer Andrew.
Yes.
I have questions.
Yeah.
So, as I said in the intro, normally we learn a lot about the creative's background and history and stuff like that. But tonight, we kind of dived more into the... because he's very big on AI.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where the space that he plays with at the moment, yeah?
Yeah.
Thinking about what we talked about, was there one or multiple things that you kind of took away from tonight's conversation?
It was... I mean, I don't mean to be offensive. It was very jargon filled.
Yes.
So it's quite
technical in points.
Yeah. But it was kind of refreshing to have a real technical discussion. Being what we doing what we do, it kind of parallels it aggressively. So
yeah, definitely.
So a lot of the points were very relevant to what we do. So I was actually quite engaged, pretty much throughout. So
yeah, I mean, as someone who kind of, I guess, with the help of our friend Brandon, built the studio.
Yeah.
And then having to learn, yourself and editor Rocky and me and also Brandon, having to learn all of these new bits of hardware and kit that we've never really touched before, because we're all like, man, I need one camera and one computer and I'm good to go. Yeah. You've done short films, short music videos.
Yep.
I've done music videos that way as well. So to suddenly go, cool, we need 3 cameras with quality audio and we need to get decent gear and, you know, having to go through and do all that research. Yeah, very, very technical in a lot of ways, which I think is why I don't know, I didn't know how he felt about it, but that was why I always tried to sort of dumb it down.
Yeah, you put it into that, explain I'm 5 kind of thing.
Layman's terms. You know, because for me, that was kind of the only way I could really sort of get my head around it.
Yeah. No, I think for a lot of people, it's kind of going to be... If you're not technically minded on the arts,
Yeah.
then it's kind of going to be a hard one to listen through because it's just very
Yeah.
But for me and the likes of you, it's probably a very, very fascinating podcast. So I think it'll appeal to a different audience, which is cool.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm gonna use my shot now.
Okay.
I think the thing I liked about it the most is that there was a lot of technical in there, but he could also see that like I was kind of struggling to kind of get my head around a lot of the technical stuff. So he would try and make it as simplified as possible. And you know what? He's right. And AI is here.
Yeah.
And it is a tool. It is not a partner. It is not a collaborator. It is not your best friend, your brother, your sister, or any kind of family relative. It is a tool, no different from a paintbrush, no different from a camera, no different from a hammer and a chisel or a piece of pottery. It is simply another tool to have in the arsenal should you need it.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think if we look at it that way, then we can, as creative people, we can kind of start to understand that, you know, maybe it's not here to overthrow us.
Yeah, well, fear often comes from a lack of understanding. So this is probably a very good podcast for you if you don't really know about AI.
That is true.
For me personally, I've never feared it. I knew what was coming. I've always read into it. So
yeah, fear is a lack of understanding. That's very
often, not always.
No, it's often a lack of understanding. It's very knowledgeable of you, Yoda. So where can you, our wonderful, some creative, some technical, some both minded audience, find out these podcasts? Well, there are a few ways, so I'm just going to rattle off them for you now. For video, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all Northland Artists Conversation. On audio, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasting, Google Podcasts, again, Northland Artists Conversation. And if you or someone you know, or even if you're a repeat guest, man, get back in touch with us. We would love to have you on. It's one of the things that I've really, really enjoyed is finding all these new people that are kind of like little nuggets of goodness, but also talking with some of our repeat guests and finding out how they've progressed and kind of where they are now from when we first chatted with them. So please contact us. The email is hello@northlandartistconversation. .co.nz. That's not Northern Artist Conversation burp. That's just northernartistconversation.co.nz. And if you would like to support us a little bit more, we welcome that. Please make sure that you like our videos, subscribe to our YouTube channel, also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Those things really do help us out. And it's always really, really good to see the engagement as well. We continue to grow very, very slowly, but I will take growth in a positive direction and in a forward momentum is excellent. So if you wish to support us a little bit more, we do have a Patreon page, and Patreon is where you can just donate a little bit to us just to keep the studio going and making sure that we can continue to upgrade what we do here. So we have two tiers. First tier we have is a cup of coffee. Now that's $5 a month. Realistically, in the grand scheme of things, $5 isn't that much, but what that does is that just says, hey, we support what you're doing, we think this is really cool, man, keep going, we love it, absolutely. Second tier that we have is called Cup of Coffee. No, it's called Coffee Addict. And Coffee Addict is $20 a month. And what that gets you is it gets you a few little extras that you don't have in the $5 tier. So it gets you a shout out on the podcast, which I'll do in just a moment. You get to know who's coming on ahead of time as well. And if there's a question that you would like me to ask our guest when they're in the chair, you simply reach out to us through the the Coffee Addict tier, and I will gladly ask that question for you. So I'm going to give a shout out to our wonderful patrons at the moment. I'm going to give a shout out to Lauren Roach for being our very first patron supporter. Thank you so much, Lauren. Honestly, it means the world. Michael Boter, who continues to be an absolute beast of a writer and has got another book coming out soon. If it's not out already, I think it's out via digital download, and he might have some physical copies. But yep, Mike, Absolutely. We've then got Maggie Coco, who's always off touring, and she's out and about, and she's an amazing human being. Maggie, we'd love to have you on, or back on rather. And then the wonderfully sublime and just such a beautiful human being, Jenny Purchase. Jenny, thank you so much for being a sponsor as well. We really do appreciate it. It's amazing. Now, there's two ways you can find us. You can go to Google, type in Patreon, that's Patreon. Top right-hand corner, log in, create an account, just fill out the details, and then search Northland Artists Conversation, or one word, nice and easy. The even easier way to do that is to go into your web search bar and type www.patreon.com/Northland Artists Conversation, or one word. That'll find us, create your account, log in, support, pick a tier, and we'll go from there. But those are the amazing ways and the amazing people and the wonderful things that we like to do to help people that continue to support us. So I'm going to cut to my wide camera now. So we're in November. You know, it's hard to believe that the year has kind of come around so quickly. Days are getting longer. It's beautiful. Sunshine's coming out more. We're kind of at a bit of that funny humidity time, though. I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of the humidity. But we're able to get to the beach, or we're able to go for longer walks, or get outside and exercise. And, sometimes just getting out in the sun and being in amongst nature is a beautiful thing. There's a lot coming up. Hearty Halloween. By the time this podcast has come out, a Hearty Halloween, which is run by Northland Horror, who have been on the podcast a couple of times. That event will have been, and it's all the tickets had sold out. It's a huge success right out of the gate. So well done to those guys. And then we kind of move into that time of year where we think about, do we have the Christmas party? Have we started adequately shopping for Christmas presents? Or, as Craig said, paying forward and buying Christmas presents for others, or donating. So that's quite cool. So on that, a beautiful high note, my name is Mark Kelly. On behalf of myself and the Northland Artists Conversation team, thank you so much for watching and listening, and we will see you guys real soon.